Hello, beautifuls. Welcome to Intuitive Conversations with Kristine Keeland and Renee Kane. I'm Kristine.
I'm Renee. As best friends and intuitives, we have fantastic conversations in all things spiritual. We have been inspired to share these conversations with you.
Hello, how are you today?
Good. Really good,
Good.
Renee. Glad to be back. Glad to be using our intuition. Glad to always be with my intuitive bestie.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it when we
Yeah.
get to have our conversations and share them with you. That brings us both joy.
It does. I love I love that we were able to listen and teach others how to listen and teach others how to communicate. And, you had a really good inspiration today.
Yeah.
Like to share that?
That's what I think we're going to talk about. I was looking at a piece of art which totally reminded me of a snowflake. And I'm inspired to invite you to look at a snowflake, as we've all been told over our lifetimes, I'll say. There's no two snowflakes alike, right? So there are no two humans alike either. So this conversation is going to be about showing your authentic self, being your authentic self like that snowflake. And it's more than that, because a snowflake, when it melts, puddles into water, right? So it makes a pond or a puddle. And that's who we are too. We all come from one source. Yeah. The snowflake comes from one source of water. We come from source. Yet we are individuated as who we are. So let's look at how we can best show our authentic self.
And it also reminds me, if you look at water or a snowflake under a microscope, you can see the crystalline energy.
Yes.
And you can see the how it changes with the experience that the water's having or the snowflake's having. For us, it's the emotional field we carry, the experience we carry, but it's actually it's maybe not visible to the naked eye.
Absolutely.
But it's possible that that Japanese doctor
Emoto,
yes,
Dr. Emoto,
does the same thing. And we do all come from the same source. We come from love. We come I don't even think love is exactly. I think love is our best definition.
Yes.
But I know there's something way beyond that. We just don't have a word for yet. It's not love. It's like blissfully love. It's
an energetic feeling.
It's an energetic field that it comes from the in the human words, the deepest desire for the most loving, creative expression of ourselves, right? Which is the source. But I know, because I just know that love is the word we use, love, is a diminished capacity of what the actual true energetic field is. Agreed. And as you're talking about the snowflake stuff and going, as we are, we melt into each other. We're creating this unified field within ourselves. We're seeing on the planet happening too.
Yes.
And you may question that. We'll talk about that a little bit. But yeah. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So tell me more about your thoughts, because when you mentioned that to me, it made so much sense to me. How can we be our own unique individuals, knowing that we come from this quantum field?
And it is. Yeah. In my understanding and in my knowing, that's what we're doing here. We really are here figuring that whole concept out. That's a piece of what we're doing here. We're figuring the concept out of how can I be one unified being and yet be my own individual authentic self. And we do that every day. We work with that in our families. We work with that with our friends. I mean, how many times have you said something to a friend because you knew that they would understand it in a certain way, but you kept in your authentic self and didn't really share the complete and full piece that you wanted to share with them? I've done it a million times because I'm judging on my part. Oh, they won't like it, or they won't accept it, or they'll think I'm cracked, or whatever. Well, that's on me. That's not on my friend or my spouse or my kids or whoever. That's on me. So being authentic is when we can become, when we can talk, when we can act, when we can be exactly who we are without worrying or thinking about what someone else might think of me. And I'm not saying you're unkind to
No,
people
from your
by
most
doing
loving
that, but
place,
it's
right?
like,
Yeah.
coming from your most loving place. Yes. Yeah. What is it to you?
And loving from yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this deep connection to self, and this wonderful acknowledgement that there's nothing we need to fix or nothing we need to
Yes.
prove to anybody or anything that needs to be adjusted to fit in the world. It's the way we've operated.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things to be healed. I'm not saying there are things to be understood. For me, healing is understanding,
Mm-hmm.
correcting the misunderstandings,
Mhm.
correcting misperceptions of self.
Yes.
But the more we can do that for ourselves, yeah. And when you mentioned the snowflake, going back to one, I
Yeah.
just want to share this one. I was actually listening. I listened to. There's this teacher on Instagram I listen to because he's a wonderful guy. He's from Minnesota, Mr. Ike. I can't remember his last name, but look him up. He's a wonderful teacher. He's getting a new book out. But he was talking about a choir teacher invited him into a room one time to listen to the choir.
Mhm.
Actually, one of the kids said, "Mr. Ike, please come listen to me. Come to my choir practice." One of the teachers said, "I'm so excited. I want you to listen to this new experience."
Mhm.
And she had everybody turn off the lights.
Mhm.
And he said, "Listen to the voice of one." And it was the same thing of like listening to the quantum field of all these multiple voices. It took a while, but he said, all of a sudden I realized it was just one voice singing to me within all the, of course you can hear that in a choir,
Mhm.
voices become one, but without having any distractions of light or visual or perceptions or thinking
Yeah.
I'm looking at this kid or that kid. He said it was such, I mean, actually when I was listening to explain it, it just brought tears to my eyes because it was such this unique experience. And when I'm saying it's not unique, they're only unique experiences because we get distracted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's having less distractions in our lives. We can be our authentic self
Mhm.
and know what we need to not hide.
Mhm. And I think it's a piece of understanding in yourself when you can be, I'm going to call it, be in that place of neutrality, and that's not a place to hide, I guess is what I want to say. But it's like I'm not judging your decision to do something
Yeah.
one way or your decision to want to live your life in a certain pattern, way, shape, form. And I'm not saying I want to do it this way either. I can be neutral and allow you to do your thing and allow you to do your thing. And I can do my authentic thing, what works for me. So it's when we can be in that place of neutrality where there's no judgment. There's just allowing and observing how others move through their life, move through their experience. We can still be supportive of each other in that.
Yeah.
And yet, that's the piece where you become truly authentic when you're not having judgment over anyone else.
Yeah.
When you move into observership of, oh, they're having that experience. Well, that's interesting. How's that sit with me?
Yeah.
Oh, it might align, might not. But we're not saying, well, what are they doing? That's a really dorky thing to do.
Doesn't help. It's not
That's
helpful.
not helpful,
Yeah.
not to you, and it's not helpful to the
Mhm.
person who's experiencing
Yeah.
it.
So thanks for sharing that. I do agree that the more we can be our authentic self and do things with loving and kindness
Mhm.
and not restrict ourselves. I want to take it a little bit deeper. I
Mhm.
think I want to go a little bit deeper of what our authentic self is like. Is that the knowingness and the is it the creative spark we bring into the physical body? Is it that gets maybe restricted? Because
Mhm.
I think as a really creative, wonderful, this energy we're talking about, the source, right? Where the snowflake originally comes from,
Mhm.
is the knowing, and maybe this is where I'm getting stuck a little bit. Do we actually know, or is there some kind of distortion in our field, not just from the physical experience of being a kid and having parents and teachers and your
Mhm.
siblings? Or is there anything that distorts our wisdom or our beauty or like
Mhm.
all of our existence? And I think, and thank you for staying with me, because I think that's what we're seeing now is the shift into actually allowing that to be present for us. Part of it's the conscious thought, like, yes, you know what, I'm going to say what I need to say, not to offend you, but I don't really like having my thoughts tell me I'm wrong or tell me I can't, blue's my favorite color or whatever it may be. Like you were talking about, really not restricting ourselves. I think there's something in that vibrational field because we've done all this physical conscious work that allows us to have more of it present.
And
Yeah.
and I could be going in a different direction, but
We'll go wherever we go.
But
Yeah.
it's just like, but in being able to be that individualized snowflake, let's just say,
Yeah.
and to be, I'm going to use the word true to that shape, to that design, to who that is, and allowing ourselves then to let every other snowflake fall as it may, but at the appropriate timing, at the appropriate place, we can be absorbed back into source.
Yeah.
And all be one. We're all one. All the snowflakes are one. They're from that same water source.
Yeah.
So they're all one, bringing all their own unique individual pieces to the whole.
Yeah.
Which makes the whole whole.
Which it makes it more of the whole, right? Because it's there's so many sour. I don't bake, but that sourdough or that starter, the yeast starter, where it just keeps growing when you add more. And I do believe love creates more.
Yep,
adds more. The more authentic I am, the more authentic you are.
Yes.
Right? The more authentic you are, and there's not a formula for what your authenticity is.
No, and it can change.
It'll change, but the more you do that, I think that's how we end the divisiveness and the things that go against us as an individual and goes against humanity, and that we're not trying to become only one unified field, one being, right? I still want to be me. I still want 8 billion people on the planet. I still want whatever.
Yes.
It is, but it's the unified field is not diminishing anything or anyone. It takes away all that. I think we're in the very beginning processes of truly living with the wisdom of the source and the love of source that will allows choice, right? Allows choice because I get to decide, you and I get to decide, am I going to present this way or that way today? Yeah. So,
and
is that what you were thinking a little bit?
That was the direction I was thinking of, that we were going. But it's like it is about that. The more you just said it, I don't need to say it again. Yeah. So it's really a concept that we are exploring, let's say. As individual people, we're exploring this. Like, so if I am this, but there's this whole unified field, how can I be a part of the unified field if I'm this, and this person's in the unified field, but they're not anything like me, or we're not ever. It's not comparison.
No, it's
not comparison. That's one of the things we're dropping. That's a part of being neutral or being out of it. It's like, I'm not comparing myself to you. I'm not comparing myself to the dog out in the street. It's that part you mentioned it earlier.
Or somebody you're listening to.
The distraction. I'm not being distracted by what's outside of here.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of this unified field. And I think we're just approaching all of that.
I think we're just starting to understand what that is because, you and I and many others will talk about, well, if you hold this thought in your head, if you just keep holding, you keep doing you, well, how does that, if I keep doing me, how does that help you?
Exactly.
And how does it help the person across the street? And how does it help something going across the country, across the globe, across the world? And I think everybody could probably agree that we want a more loving and kind existence within our own sense of self, our own families, across the globe. And it really is that quantum unified field. It is invisible. And it is for some it may be a place of trust, but for me it's just a place of knowing that the way I operate to the best of my ability affects the way the rest of the world operates. You may not see it, but you see it right in front of you, right? Like, you've had the same experience too. The more I'm I would say calm, but the more I express myself in my best way
Mm-hmm.
and don't diminish, that actually does change my life quite a bit.
And those around you.
Yeah.
Exactly. When we don't diminish ourselves and when we come across as this is who I am with love, or in love, I should say, that only adds to everyone else's observation of what it can be.
Yeah. And I love what you said about comparison too, because that also adds to greater than and less than, and there's not enough, you have more than I have, or you do better than I do. Like that just keeps lowering our sense of self, lowers our vibration, our frequency, and it keeps the separation of ourselves in place.
I have a thought.
Yeah.
And I want to, this may work and it may not, but it just popped in. So it's kind of like Kristine and I can usually get to the same place if we're working with the same client or even in our own discussions, but we don't see it the same way.
No, yeah.
We both come at it from a different vantage point, and we most often get to the exact same answer, the same spot. And it doesn't make the way she does it wrong and my way right, or vice versa. We all do things our own way. And so when we can actually honor ourselves to express that the how or the why we do something some way, it can help someone else go, oh, that's the way I see it. Or that's how I do. Same with Kristine when she's, using your mediumship skills and pulling in that whole aspect of things. That's
a learned skill to kind of not pay attention to how somebody else is doing their life.
Yeah.
I said to remind myself that's none of my business. But we are inundated constantly. We can be inundated constantly with information.
We can, and we are.
Right? Even, right now. Right?
Even sitting here.
Just right now. We're both kind of pulling things out. We're trying to make it a cohesive discussion for everybody.
Yes.
But if I were to, thank you for saying that, because if I was to be like, oh my gosh, why am I doing that same? And I've done that. I've actually done that quite a bit in my life. Why am I getting it wrong, or why am I different, or whatever, whatever that rabbit hole is? It's not helpful. The comparison, looking at someone else, do it for inspiration. Do it for how would that, is there a piece of wisdom in here for me? But to change who I am to try and fit someone else. And I've done that.
Oh, I think we've all
done that, right?
Yeah.
To fit in a family group, or to fit in a place of work, or the story that's coming to me right now is like to be your authentic self. I've told this story before. You and I actually did a workshop, but I years ago I started at a bank, and I went to work and nobody said hello, and nobody talked to you. Nobody even smiled when you walked in. I remember my husband picking me up from work, and I just been in tears. Like, this was the worst day because I'm not connecting with anybody. I didn't have those words, but I just felt it just made me cry. And after about 2 weeks, I thought, screw this. I'm not playing this game. I'm not going to work in an environment like this. So I started walking in, hello, with a smile or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And within about 3 weeks, people started quitting or whatever. And we had a whole new workforce in about a month and a half. And people were smiling, that we were talking to customers, we were engaged with other, we weren't wasting our time, but the whole environment changed because we are here to offer our best selves, right? Not every day, because we're people, but
we are.
But it really was as simple as, I'm gonna share a smile. Where's yours? That changed us back into a different field, right? But if I had allowed myself to change to fit.
Exactly.
That was my point. That was my point. Yep. There's always a point to what I say. It may take me a while. But I had the choice to either fit into their environment and fit into their vibrational field, or just stay authentic to my own.
Hold your own.
And I held to my own, and there are times where I've had to hold my own and have to leave or exit the situation.
I've done that.
That is a situation where it actually changed the field.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is an awesome story. And you probably, it's a good thing to actually, I'm going to say at this point in time, in this time of the year, because we're moving closer to changes that are coming, it's always good to reflect reflect on those times when you have made a difference
Yeah.
by potentially just smiling or by just doing your work every day, doing it without complaint, not standing at the water cooler judging people. And, this is a really good time to reflect on what you've brought.
Yeah, and see how that
What
feels.
have you brought to the
When you
unified
are
field?
truly yourself, like how does your
Mhm.
body feel? You're talking about
Mhm.
freedom today earlier, right?
Yeah, I
What that means
was,
to you.
yes.
And when you kind of hide yourself or diminish or shift and change,
Mhm.
it just doesn't feel good. For me, I get crabby and irritated.
Mhm.
Somebody else, has a different experience. But
Yeah.
yeah.
That is really a great way to look at this. Check it out.
Yeah.
And even if you are in a place right now where you're in an uncertainty of who you are and you're uncertain of what you've brought to the whole unified field or to your workplace, start small with whatever works for you. I can tell you that you have made a difference in people's lives. You have brought joy. You have brought love. Find it. Reflect on it. Just dig in a little deep. And when you do find that peace, it might take a little work, but relish in it. Pat yourself on the back. And then find the next piece.
Yeah. Reflect on how you do it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How you do it for others. And, there's something, it's like stitching a cloth together, right? Or knitting. And you just keep adding this or cooking. It's like you just keep taking the best of something. And you're making this wonderful tapestry of your life. And I'm going to add it to your tapestry of your life. We get this bigger tapestry that really does create change.
It does.
And it's going pretty fast right now.
I am.
It comes through awareness.
It does come from awareness, and it's when you can see those thoughts that you project out coming back to you like this.
Yeah. And you know what I'm seeing now too is we are being more authentic. You and I and many others and listeners are being more authentic and holding ourselves maybe accountable to holding a space for ourselves and really having that sense of freedom to be whatever we are and say whatever we need. But I'm also seeing it change outside of me too.
Oh, yes.
Right? That people are now saying things that maybe they wouldn't have said before. They would have been afraid to be censored, be afraid to maybe lose
their
friendships, lose their jobs, all those things. So that's how just doing us helps create, it's like an encouragement. But it's the quantum field that gets encouraged.
Yes.
That expresses more.
It moves it all out into that wonderful space of source and beginning for us.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to what you said about the unified field, or not the unified field, excuse me. You mentioned that I talked about freedom earlier. Okay. That came to me as I was driving to Kristine's today. Eagles flew over the car, and I love eagles. So that was just made me like shiver all over. And I often think of an eagle as being free, one of the most free things that there is. I think of what that means to me as my individual self, I guess you would say. And I think the eagle and freedom line up. But as I pondered on it this morning, it was like I grew up in a very patriotic family. It was all around. If you saw an eagle or you talked about freedom, it all had to do with the flag, United States flag. And I asked myself, is that what freedom means to me now? And I got a flat out no. And it's like, I need to define freedom for myself, what that is. What does freedom mean for me?
So I'm curious.
And so what I came to the conclusion of was freedom to me now is, and that's why it reflects back onto this, is being my authentic self, having no fear about who I am and being able to express my beliefs without worrying about judgment or losing a job or any of that. So it's flipped freedom totally around for me. And I think if we as a unified field can flip freedom around to understanding it in a different way. Like we don't have to fight for freedom.
Yeah, as you said, you
We
don't have
don't-
to ask for permission. Like
we
I'm
don't have to-
asking for
Yeah,
permission, that means I'm
yes.
already saying it's not mine, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So that's why it's like, that's kind of my tie-in. It's like, that takes it back to the unified field. If we can all look at something, like I chose freedom in the eagle today.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people probably don't feel free today.
Oh, there's a lot.
You know,
Yeah, tons.
In many ways, I think people feel like they're tied. I have to have this job because that's how the world operates. We have to have an income.
Well, I have bills to
Sometimes
pay,
you have
and
bills to pay, and
mhm.
maybe you're in a position I don't really enjoy this job. That's where the courage comes in, and first comes in the awareness.
Yes.
This isn't my best. This feels very restricted to me. I feel stuck. I feel like I don't have choice. When as soon as you hear yourself saying I don't have choice, that's the thing you need to look at. When you say you have no choice in this matter,
Yes.
Because that is always a lie.
Always a lie.
Always a lie. You may not like the options. They may not see, maybe you only see 3 or 4 options when there's
10.
20, 30,
Yeah.
100 options. I love that you brought up freedom, because I do believe that's a vibrational field we're looking at. That's actually like a line of, it's like, they show me that's like a line, and it's a lyrical line, like on a song, a composition, right? So we have to go through these different concepts and have different understandings of ourselves to create a better world, right? And right now, freedom. So I encourage you all to look, where do you not feel free in your life? Free to make a different choice, or free to express yourself? Yeah, let's look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
like
a
And then look what happens when you don't feel like you're a free being. When you're not free, I mean, just look at a little kid and look way across the globe where people are not expressing, where their freedoms are being terribly compromised, to say it mildly, right?
Yeah.
So that's back to quantum field. You start with us. It's not an invisible thing. It's not a oh, I wish I wish. No, it's not a wish. It's an action.
It is action. Taking action.
You become a global activist when you work in the quantum field. Yeah. So.
And that is a wonderful statement.
Yeah. And what I love about when you talked about, because I grew up very patriotic too. You went to parades, you sang all the songs, you just And as a kid, I remember thinking, well, I like the community, right?
Absolutely.
The 4th of July, but I also was just not disenfranchised. I was disengaged. I was disappointed. Maybe disappointed. That's not quite the right word, but I didn't understand why we had the separation. Like, my country's better than yours, or my football team's better than yours, or my singer's better. Like, I still don't understand. I still really don't understand, other than it's a place of comparison, and a place to divide, and a place to conquer, and a place to diminish one another. When I diminish you, I diminish me. That's quantum field too. So that never made sense to me. But I like the singing and all that. But what was my point?
Well, I just want to piggyback
What's my point?
When you diminish you and that diminishes me,
Yeah.
that takes us back again to the whole being authentic, but part of the unified field. And that's where the diminishing, when you diminish one, you diminish the other, because we bring that energy with us into that quantum huge unified field.
I mean, if you just look at a kindergarten class, and they all come in, they're bright and sparkly, and we're going to assume that everybody came in with no issues, right? They just come in,
it's a miracle class.
They're fed, they're totally loved, everything. But you start to separate them and say, well, you're pretty. I'm going to keep it very simple. You're pretty, you're smart. All of a sudden, there's a crack. And then you keep diminishing one another. And they have to fight you and have to figure out why. You have to find your place. You have to find your authentic self. And next thing you know, we've got these horrible crises across the world. And that's, we're talking about our individual. It always has to go back to the individual, because it is a quantum field.
It is, yes.
Yeah. So we get to own ourselves. We get to, and not own ourselves. We get to reclaim ourselves. We get to, and it starts with awareness.
Mhm.
So good.
It does
Good
start with
topics you brought up
awareness.
today, Renee.
It's
Thank
good.
you.
It's good. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, great points. It's a big concept, people. It really is. And I think that with just a little awareness in this field, we can shift things massively by just bringing a little awareness to our role.
Because nothing stops.
Mm-mm.
Nothing stops. And you try it out today. So it is an energy field that doesn't stop until it meets until it meets a match. Right?
Yes.
So if I smile and I have an intention to smile, I'm going to smile to 100 people today.
Mm-hmm.
That just keeps going. And it goes in their circle and it keeps separating, just in the quantum field, it keeps going. If I have the intention, I'm going to just frown and be crabby and be hateful and just nothing about my life is right and you're wrong. That also has the same thing. So try that out today, and even if it's your inauthentic self, just to see how your day goes. I mean, if it's going
Check it
shitty,
out. Yeah.
stop it, right? Actually, stop the experiment.
Pull the
But you will
plug.
see, because we do it without even being aware,
Mm-hmm.
and we really do get to decide what kind of day we're having.
And that really is what we're bringing to you with our conversations.
Yeah.
We're hoping, I'm going to take the word hope out of it. We're bringing to you concepts and ideas that can help you look at your life and see it differently.
That's our true intention.
And that's what we're bringing to you. You don't have to agree with us. You don't have to think everything that comes out of either one of our mouths is absolutely your truth. But we just want to bring to you concepts, ideas, which bring you to understanding something or make you aware of something new that can broaden.
And I would love to hear some feedback too. I would love to know, excuse me, I would love to know you're receiving this, or ideas you have, or how you're taking, as we're talking about how you're incorporating it, or maybe your next best thought. Because this is a conversation. Right now there's just two because we're on the same, but I want to hear the rest of it. I want to know what your thoughts are too. And how you're seeing yourself evolve.
And that helps us to understand what
you're
more we
interested in.
can bring to you.
Yeah. So
yes.
Good conversation. Yep. I know this is not done.
No.
I know this is kind of, we're breaking through the ice. We're breaking a new surface,
there
right?
you go.
Breaking through the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a whole new way of being human, a whole new way of being us. There's a lot of talk about the new human and, the illuminated human. We talk about that a lot too, but it's the knowing and living without restriction, with love, always with love, always with love. So, thanks, darling.
Thank you.
Another great conversation. Appreciate y'all being here.
Very much.
Thanks.
We are forever grateful to you, our listener. You inspire us to continue listening with our hearts,
to share what we know, and to expand love, peace, and joy within ourselves and others. Until next time, this is Kristine Keeland
and Renee Keene. Be love, give love, and receive love.